Hello, I'm Greg of Ratk Mods, and welcome to episode 14 of Season 2 of my PowerPC series. In today's episode, we have a very special episode, which was suggested to me by Rock and Roll Hall of Famist David Knopfler, aka he was one of the founders of Dire Straits, the band, and he was also the younger brother of Mark Knopfler, who happens to be the lead singer of Dire Straits. David happens to be a very big Mac enthusiast, and he loves classic Macs, and he was very interested in my iBook G3 clamshell, which Colin Mister turned into an iBook G4. So we were talking around on low-end Mac, and he decided he wanted to see what this thing would do with an mSATA SSD in it. So in today's video, we'll be taking this system apart and putting this in it. First off, we'll go through it and benchmark loading times with the old hard drive in it, which I think is a 5400 from a titanium PowerBook or something. It's a 40 gig hard drive. We'll test the speeds of it booting up and all that stuff, and a few things with it opening things, and then we'll take this drive apart, this whole thing apart. I'll transfer all the data over to this, and we'll test it all again. So anyway, I hope you guys are looking forward to this episode, and let's go. Okay, so before we begin, I would like to make one quick shout out to David Knopfler again. Thank you, David, for everything you've done for the world of music in general. Thank you for being a co-founder of one of the greatest rock bands of all time. Dire Straits has been a very big part of my life, thanks to my father, and we both thank you personally for helping founding it. It has meant a lot to us, that band, and of course Dire Straits now has been disbanded since '95, and David actually broke off of the band in the early '80s and has had a nice solo career. Although he was never really big in the US, he has had a lot of great songs, and I would recommend you guys to go listen to him on YouTube or anywhere. He's got great music, and you've got a lifelong fan now, David. So thank you for that, and I'll link his channel up here. This channel he made, I think, to promote his 2015 solo album. It hasn't had much activity, but you can see that, and then you can also search him on YouTube. He's all over YouTube. So anyway, thanks again, David, and let's get on to the video. So anyway, here's my iBook G4 clamshell. I just brought it up into Leopard so you could see that right now it is running the 40 gigabyte hard drive, and that's basically the only reason why I have it running right now. When I take this system apart, I will attempt to fix this darn fan, but right now it's still noisy. So yeah, we'll try to fix that. But yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut the system completely off, and we're going to do a cold boot, and I'll start the timer, which I have over here, up the second that the screen turns on. That would mean that the open firmware has fully initialized, and then we'll be able to see the boot time it takes for Leopard. And then we'll also do the same from the boot menu for Tiger and OS 9. So anyway, let's get to it. Okay, so we'll start off with the cold boot to Leopard with the hard drive. So here's the first boot up. This might take a few seconds because of the ROM stuff, and it may not boot the first time. So let's see what happens this time. And we are off to the races. That took about 1 minute and 26 seconds, and the drive's indexing itself again. Oh, it was still loading. It was probably more like a minute 30 something. Minute 32 or something like that. But the drive's indexing itself again. I don't know why Leopard does that. Hopefully the SSD will fix that. And before we really go on to everything else, let's really quickly do something else. Let's see if I can get experimental here. We'll open up System Preferences. Okay, it took about 4 seconds roughly. With the drive indexing, actually, let's just not do this. We're just going to restart it again. I'll get it into the boot menu, and we'll take it from there. The drive just stopped indexing. Let's try that one more time. Although this is now probably loaded into the RAM, so it's probably won't load quicker. So we'll open System Preferences. 2 seconds. We'll open up Activity Monitor. It's loaded. It's right there. 2 seconds. It's pretty darn quick when it's running already. So you know, I will see a lot of improvements in speed. So we'll just go with that, and we'll just get this straight into the boot menu and continue from there. Okay, so we're going to start off by booting into Tiger here. I will start the timer the second that I hit enter to load Tiger. So the boot menu is still loading. Okay, we've got it loaded, and I just have to hit enter and start. So let's get going. And it's taken about 39 seconds to boot up. It's totally booted and functional. So yeah, we'll get this back into the boot menu one more time, and we'll boot into OS 9 and see how that happens. So let's go. Okay, so we're back in the boot menu. I'll do the same thing. The second I hit enter, I will start the stopwatch. So let's go over to OS 9 and let's get started. It took about 40 seconds. It actually took longer to boot OS 9 than Tiger. That's interesting. So anyway, I'm going to boot this back into Leopard one more time to do a drive benchmark, and then we'll hop on into taking the system apart. So let's get to it. Okay, so I'm going to attempt to do a nice time lapse of disassembling the clamshell to at least a certain degree. I may stop midway through disassembly. We'll see. I have an idea where I might not have to take the whole thing apart, but well, I probably will still take it all apart. This case right here has now gotten pretty brittle. It was the second best case I had from episode 15 of last season. You guys saw that. There was a few things wrong with it, and now there are a few more things wrong with it. And it has to do with the case modifications, I think. So it's a little more brittle than it was. But I'm going to try to get it apart in one piece. So let's get on to the time lapse. Okay, so yeah, I forgot about this screw right here, but didn't really matter because, well, yeah, that piece of the case was already broken. It's been broken for a while. I'll have to unscrew that. But here's what the inside of the system looks like now. As we can see, I'm going to try to maintain the fan in its position, and as we can see, the speaker and power button are separate from the case. That's going to be a pain to get back in, but that's because they were originally welded to the case when the frame was plugged into it. So I'm going to have to do that. But here's what the inside looks like right now. I'm going to work on the fan a little bit, and as I get further into it, I'll start the video back up. But that gives you a general idea how to get it apart. Don't forget to undo that screw. But in this case, it really didn't matter. I'm going to have to fix it though. So anyway. Okay, to save what seems like about 5 hours of time, I'm doing something I learned off of YouTube. I would not recommend ever doing this on a clamshell, especially one that's in good shape. But of course this case isn't in great shape, and this heat shield here is already modified, and this way I don't have to mess up the cooling system and have to reassemble that, which is a pain. So I just took the screws out that go right here and bent this up. Now I can take these standoffs off, and presto, I'll be able to put in the SSD. But before I do that, I need to transfer the data from that to this. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so roughly 4 hours later, I have finally transferred all the information from the hard drive to the SSD. It was a big headache of trial and error there. This is a lot easier with target disk mode, and of course the system doesn't have that because there's no FireWire ports. So to transfer the data, I had to play a cat and mouse game of trying to get Carbon Copy Cloner, Disk Utility, and a bunch of other things to work with the drive and the files, which they didn't at first. And I ended up first trying to use my 2 titanium PowerBooks, the parts system that has a shattered case and busted screen as a target disk drive, and the other system as the scratch system. That didn't work. I eventually ended up putting the target drive system into my Mac Pro and using Carbon Copy Cloner to realize that the OS 9 install would not transfer over. OS 9 is hard to transfer over. I could have probably just copied the files over and blasted the drive, but there's really nothing on my OS 9 install, so I did a fresh install from my other titanium. So I did a fresh install of OS 9, set it back up the way it should work on a clamshell, and then oh boy, it's been a long 4 hours. And then I plugged the target disk machine back into the Mac Pro and used an adapter to read the drive through USB, and then I copied the Tiger and Leopard install back over the 64 gig mSATA you see in front of me. Now, of course, I wrote the label on it upside down. I do that a lot, but you're not going to be able to see it. So I'm going to start putting the case together. I'll probably give you updates. I did fix the case here. It is glued together. It is solid now. And I will probably not be filming putting it back together because you'd be hearing a lot of expletives and probably be seeing me throw a lot of things. Because getting this case back together with the button to stay in peace, intact, and keep the speaker together while I pop the case together, it's a very, very painful process, and I'm not looking forward to it. Plus, I will have to test the fan. I have lubricated the fan, and it hasn't been buzzing the few times I tested it, and hopefully everything's fine with it. So I am going to start piecing this back together. Okay, so I got the shield back on. Everything is a little off kilter, and the heatsink did move. So yeah, I'm hoping everything's still aligned because I really don't want to be messing everything up any more than I have to. But real quick, let's listen to the fan and see if it buzzes. Nice and quiet. No buzzing. And it's a lot more quiet than it was. I still kind of want to replace it, but we'll see about that in the future. So anyway, yeah. Okay, so I've got the optical drive back in, and now I just got to get the top case back together and back on. That's going to be the fun part. So okay, so I've got the top case back on with all the buttons working. Everything clips together, everything closes. Okay, and let's see here. And when I turn it on, hopefully the fan will still not be hitting anything. So let's see what happens. We're good. Okay, so the system's back in one piece. If we go through here and open it up, it's literally all back in one piece. Everything's been glued back together and retouched up. Everything's lined up. Everything works from what I can tell. So let's do the first boot up of the system, and then we'll do the speed tests and stuff after we see if it boots up. So let's get to it. Wow, that is so much more quiet. That is a lot more quiet. The fan still is sick, but it's a lot better than it was. So let's get this system booted up and we'll take it from there. And it looks like it has successfully booted into Leopard. And it is indexing the drive again. Anyway, let's clear that. Get it connected to the internet real quick. So we can get this all set up here. Okay. So yeah, the signal seems a little low. It's connected. Oh, here it goes. Yeah, that's about the right connection signal for that router. Okay, so let's get the date and time set. Got that set. And we'll go over to About This Mac. We'll go over to ATA. And here's the drive right here. All 64 gigs of it, aka 59 gigs formatted. I got a lot more storage on the drive now, so I have a lot more room to put stuff on here, which is nice. So yeah, there's that. And it seems to be working well. It's snappier. It's still seems a little more sluggish than other systems with SSDs in them, but it seems to be working. Let's see here. It is literally not pulling up. Why is it doing that? View. Well, anyway, activity monitor is running. I've got it stuck, I guess, in CPU thing, and it's still indexing the drive. But the system's running. Everything seems to be fine. So what we will do is we're going to shut this completely down, and I'm going to set up the camera, and we'll do a boot speed test. We'll start with, I'll tell you what, let's start with OS 9 and leave Leopard's boot speed as a, I guess, surprise. So we'll shut it off. and we'll take it from there. Okay, so we'll start from the back and go forward. So we'll start with OS 9. Now, this OS 9 is a fresh install, but the other OS 9 didn't really have anything else on it, so it really shouldn't make any difference. So we'll first select OS 9, and, well, you know the drill by now. And there we go. We have OS 9 booted up in about 29 seconds. I'll put the original time on the screen right now to show you the difference in speed. And that was a pretty big difference. It's at least 10 seconds, so that's nice. So we'll restart the system again and get it back into the boot menu. Okay, so now the boot menu is loading up. We'll wait for that to load up, and then we'll start up the Tiger test. Alright. And here we go in 3, 2, 1. We have Tiger started up in 30 seconds. A little slower than OS 9 this time, which makes more sense. It's still quicker than the last time. It's probably 8-9 seconds quicker. It's not a speed demon, but I'll tell you what, that's pretty impressive. And I'll tell you what, the responsiveness is pretty nice, pretty quick. Let's see how long it takes for Classic to start up here. We'll reset this, and of course it needs updated. I forgot about that. Let's update that. Stop, and let's try it again. Start. There we go, and that's Classic running. Yeah, Tiger's a lot quicker, it seems to be. So that's a good plus there. So now we're going to get to the best one. Leopard, which likes to choke this system out a little bit. Okay, so here's the Leopard boot up. We'll once again start from a cold start, and I will start the timer the second the screen kicks on. So let's make sure the camera's in focus, and let's get started. Okay, the system didn't post. Let's try again. There we go. And we are once again off to the races. And there we go. Okay, yeah, it wasn't fully booted. That was roughly a minute, I'd say a minute 5 seconds roughly. Of course you can see the original time right there. It's a big difference, I think. I can't quite remember at this point because it's been like 4 hours. But yeah, let's cancel out the internet real quick. And the last thing we're going to do is do a benchmark. So I'll take this off the tripod, and we'll do the benchmark. Okay, so we have Xbench here, and we're going to do a quick disk test to see the speed difference. Alright, the test is already over. So we will save this as SSD, hit save, and now we'll open up the original. Small screens are a pain. Okay, so the original here got a grand total of 20.03, and the SSD got a grand total of 63.34. That's a pretty big difference there. The write speeds, let's see here if I can get these to line up and not overlap. Scroll that down. This is a bit of a challenge with such a small screen. Okay. Move that over to the side. Line it up. And here are the differences here. The write speeds are quite quicker. As you can tell, the SSD is severely bottlenecked, like majorly bottlenecked. Is it really worth upgrading the clamshell to an SSD? Probably not. Maybe a quicker hard drive? Yes. SSD? I don't know. Of course, this SSD is staying in the system, and it will make it quicker. It will make it snappier. It is a bit quicker and a bit snappier, but you know what? It looks like it is indexing the drive again. The benchmark might have actually been changed. So it may actually even have a faster speed there. I'm not sure. I'm not waiting forever for this to to index again. I hate that it does that. I don't understand why it does. But I'll tell you what, even if it's been indexing and bottlenecking the drive even more, I'll tell you what, this is a great result, but not as a big of a result as it would have been in, like, for instance, my G4 high-res. This is the bus speed in this is a lot slower, but I'll tell you what, it is a big difference. And even with the CPU probably being maxed out right now, indexing the drive again, it's probably indexing the OS 9 drive. Even though that's happening right now, I guarantee you, just because of the drive itself, everything will load quicker. And I tell you what, I can tell a bit of a difference. I'll do more tests with this, and of course you'll probably be seeing this in another video in the future, but I think that's basically all we need to see right now. And that's the end of this episode. Thank you guys for watching. Once again, don't forget to check out David's music and channel, also, don't forget the Power Mac G5 giveaway is almost over. We've got like 100 subs or so to go, and then it's over. So click this link right up here if you haven't entered, and I will be doing a live stream of the winner, more than likely, when that happens. So keep in touch, you know, and of course, the giveaway is coming. So yeah, anyway, so that's the end of this episode, and thank you guys for watching. This has been a Rutgay Mods video.